Dear students, welcome to this lecture of strategic human resource management. This is a topic of unit 3, this is lecture 15 and the topic for today is HR strategy. And I am Dr. Tripti Barthwal, I am Director, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management and Development Studies, Lucknow. So, I am sure that you must have heard this term HR strategy. Now, a human resource strategy is a business overall plan for managing its human capital to align with its business activities. Now, from the time we started this paper, Strategic Human Resource Management, we have been talking about how important the HR function has become for the organization, because now human resources are not merely regarded as assets, now they are strategic partners in business. And when we talk about HR as partners in business, then the point which needs to be emphasized is that human resource has a lot of role to play in the achievement of the organization's overall strategy. So, therein the role of HR strategy becomes very important, because unless we have a properly devised HR strategy, the goals and the objectives of the organization cannot be achieved. HR cannot make adequate contribution in the achievement of the goals of the organization, and hence the relevance of HR strategy. So, you can see from the first point itself that then HR strategy is a business's overall plan for managing its human capital to align with its business activities. So, here the point which you need to understand is that we are not talking about the HR department here, we are talking about the business's overall plan. And what is this plan? How it will manage its human resource, and what will be the purpose of managing its human resource? It will not merely be for the purpose of improving the performance of employees, getting best from them. That is there, that is a part of the HR function, but then it will be so that it is aligned with its business activity, so that there is direct contribution to the business goals of the organization. The human resource strategy sets the direction for all key areas of HR, including hiring, performance appraisal, development and compensation. So, this human resource strategy is comprehensive, it is all inclusive, because it includes all the important areas like recruitment, selection, the evaluation of performance, training and development and compensation. The principal purpose of the HR strategy is the differentiation from other competitors. The unique employee value proposition lets employees engage emotionally with the organization. Now, this is a very important thing. Now, you want your employees to remain engaged with your organization, to give their best to whatever the organization is doing. So, in that context, the importance of HR strategy becomes all the more, because it is the differentiation from other competitors. It creates that difference, how my organization treats people, how my organization values people, how my organization looks at the role and the contribution of people makes it different from the competitors. And as a result of that, the organization can, it has the ability to attract the best resources possible when the organization has this kind of a capacity, it is able to differentiate. And then there, like in a product, we say there is a USP which is developed, every product sells because it is different from the other product, there is a differentiation, and a differentiation is created on the basis of a unique selling proposition. So, similarly in case of an HR strategy also, the organization tries to develop a unique proposition, value proposition, something which some few things or few characteristics, HR policies and activities which we are doing for the our employees, which others are not doing, others are not even able to think about them. So, that is how the business gets differentiated from its competitors, and copying the HR practices does not cultivate the unique corporate culture. So, we have to very important thing is that if we just try to, if we say that Google is an organization which has very good HR strategies, it has a very unique employee value proposition, it is a key differentiator, it is being awarded as the best employer year after year. And if we think that we can simply copy Google's HR strategies and we can be successful and we can achieve our business goals, that will not happen, because copying and pasting policies will not help, because each organization has a different set of environment, external and internal, and in that what suits Google may not suit West for us. So, every strategy has to be tailor made for every organization. Then when we are devising an HR strategy, then what are the essential questions which we need to ask? The formulation of HR strategy requires answers to just 3 questions. First is, like in any plan, we have to find out where are we now, that is what is our current status, right. Then where do we want to be in 1, 2 or 3 years time. So, whatever is the time horizon which we are taking, in that time where do we want to reach, which that also we have to take into consideration. Then obviously how we are going to get there. So, if let us say my organization's employee turnover is, let us say 30%, so that is where we are now, then where we want to be. So, I want to reduce the employee turnover in terms of HR, which is not good. So, we want to reduce the employee turnover, let us say to 10%. So, how do we reduce? In how much time we want to reduce? In an year we want to reduce it to 10%, in 1, 2 years, 3 years, and then how do we get there? If we can answer these questions, then we can formulate the HR strategy in a much easier way. These questions need to be answered within the framework of understanding of business strategy, or at least the key business needs in the context of the external and internal environment of business. So, now when you answer these questions, the very important thing is, because we are formulating an HR strategy, so we have to take into account that what is our business strategy, what is our external and internal environment, because now HR is not merely an inward looking function that you are not affected by what is going outside, because now HR is playing a role in implementation or in achievement of business strategies, then it cannot be an merely inward looking function. It has to take into account the environment of the organization, it has to take into account what is happening around, what is the business strategy of the organization. Now, the best HR strategies always stay focused on getting the best performance from employees. That is but obvious. Usually this means getting employees to have something. Now, what does this have? Now, when you are formulating HR strategies, then if you want to achieve your business strategies through them, then what do you need to focus on? You have to focus on the skills, competencies and the abilities of the employees, because after all it is the employees who will lead to the achievement of the business strategy. So, in that case they should be having the right kind of skills and competencies. Then feel, they should have commitment, engagement and motivation. They merely possession of skills is not important. People should have that zeal, that enthusiasm to work for the organization, to work for the achievement of the overall corporate objective. And the third thing is do something, that is they should be wanting to come to work, to be productive, wanting to serve customers, stay within the organization, not leave the organization. Quitting, the feeling of quitting the organization as soon as there is some opportunity available is not a very good thing for the organization. So, I mean, if we have a good HR strategy, that means it is going to take care of all these three things. Now, what are the types of processes which we take into consideration while designing an HR strategy? There's a scholar by the name of Walker. He suggests the following three processes which are used in developing HR strategies. First is the integrated process. Now, as you can very well understand from the word integrated, integrated means to combine together, to become a common whole. So, HR strategy is an integral part of business strategy along with other all functional strategies. So, this approach of formulating strategy states that HR function is not different from the overall business function. So, when we are talking about business strategy, then when we are formulating the business strategy, HR strategy is intertwined in it, it is inbuilt in it, it is an integral part, it cannot, both of them can be not be separated. So, like other functional strategies, so for example, a business is strategizing to increase its market share. So, obviously marketing, promotion, quality production will be an integral part of that strategy. Similarly, Walker says that an integrated approach or an integrated process, when an organization is formulating such a business strategy, then HR strategy has to be a part of that overall plan. The second is the aligned process. Aligned process means that they are coordinated, they are in harmony with each other, but let us say they are not intertwined or they are not part of the same thing. So, the HR strategy is developed together with business strategy. So, that means once our business strategy is final, we have to formulate our HR strategy accordingly. So, together as we are progressing in our business strategy, at the same time parallelly we are also working on our HR strategy. So, there is a little difference in the first to the second approach. In the first approach, it is a combined function, they cannot be separated. So, that means if a business is devising its business strategy, then HR strategy will be a part of that business strategy. But in an aligned process, HR strategy and business strategy are separate from each other. The only thing is, as we are devising the business strategy, the HR strategy also needs to be devised simultaneously. And the third is the separate process. The separate process means that a distinct HR plan is developed and considered separately from the overall business plan. So, that means HR plan is neither a part of the business strategy nor it is developed together with the business strategy. It is distinct, it is separate from the business strategy, and it should be considered, as has been mentioned, separately from the overall business plan. Now, next we talk about, these were the approaches earlier we have discussed. Now, we talk about the methods of developing HR strategies. The first is the classical sequential approach. Now, two things which come out from this name. First is classical. Classical is little older version, it is a traditional approach. And second is that it is a sequential approach, that it moves in a step by step manner. So, classical sequential approach. So, this consists of 4 stages, 4 sets of steps which occur in sequence. So, the first is assess feasibility. So, assess feasibility means that first, while developing HR strategies, we have to analyze because as I said, now with strategic HRM, human resource management is not merely an inward looking function. So, we have to understand the business environment, the environment around external, internal, and then we have to see that what kind of HR strategy will be feasible in such a business environment, what are the competitors doing, what are the employees in the organization, or maybe the prospective employees, what are their expectations, and maybe what any policies the government is coming up or planning to come up related to employees. So, we have to see the feasibility, like in any project which we start, we do a feasibility analysis. Here also we are doing a feasibility analysis. Then second is determine desirability. Determining desirability is that you have to justify the rationale of designing a HR strategy, because this is a classical sequential approach, it is an old approach. So, you have to whether if the existing strategies are enough to achieve the business strategies, or do we require new strategies or changes in the existing strategy, that has to be determined. We do not have to do anything just for the sake of doing it. So, we have to determine the desirability also. Then the third is determine goals. Then what are the goals which we want to achieve through these HR strategies. Now, goals obviously are overall business goals which we want to achieve through HR strategy, but obviously HR strategy, like a marketing strategy, will have its own specific goals which will lead ultimately to the achievement of the overall organization's goal. So, they cannot directly, there has to be a step by step process. So, first we have to determine the goals which this HR strategy will try to achieve towards the achievement of the business strategy. And the last is decide the means of achieving the goals. So, how will these goals be achieved? So, for example, if in terms of business strategy, if we feel that we need to improve the employee commitment to the organization, that would be the goal of the HR strategy, right. If we have to achieve the business strategy, then the HR strategy should work towards increasing employee commitment. So, the last step would be that how will we increase the employee commitment? What will be our interventions, what will be our strategies, what will be our plans to increase the level of commitment of employees? Or let us say that we decide that in order to achieve the business strategy, we need to reduce the conflict in the organization. There is a lot of dysfunctional conflict in the organization and we need to reduce it. So, how do we reduce it? What are the ways and means, what will be those strategies, HR strategies, which will lead to reduction in the conflict in the organization, a proper management of conflict in the organization, so that the overall business strategy of the organization is achieved. Then the second approach is the empirical needs based approach, right. So, empirical is generally based on research. So, empirical need based approach focuses on two basic concepts. It focuses on two basic concepts. The first is the concept of strategic fit. Now, when we talk about fit, what do we mean? Something which is meant exactly for something. So, for example, if you just get a trouser stitched for you, so it will be according to your fit. So, it will be just according to your requirements, just according to your dimensions, measurements. So, something which is just according to the requirements. So, what does a strategic fit require? What does a strategic fit require? The first important condition for achieving strategic fit is knowledge of skills and behavior to implement the strategy. The first thing which we require, how can HR contribute to business strategy? Only when employees contribute to business strategies. And when will employees contribute to business strategy? When they have those kinds of skills, competencies, abilities to achieve the business strategy, and secondly they have that kind of behavior. So, both skills and behavior are important. Are they motivated, are they committed, are they engaged, are they satisfied? So, those behaviors will also be important, very important in in getting employees contribute to business strategy. Then next is knowledge of HRM practices necessary to elicit those skills and behaviors. So, what should be our HRM practices, what should be our HR policies, so that we have those employees which have those required skills and those behavior which are positive for achievement of the business strategy. Now, what do we mean by employees with those skills? Our recruitment, selection, training functions should be efficient enough to get people of the required skills. And similarly, if we are working with existing employees, then in that case our training and development should be strong enough to equip people with the skills, the competencies that are required for achieving of the business strategy. Then the ability to implement quickly the desired systems of HRM practices. So, if I know that these are the changes which I need to do in recruitment, these are the changes which I need to do in my training training function, or these are the changes which I need to do in my performance appraisal system. But when it comes to about bringing about those changes, it takes a lot of time, and what happens in that time? The business strategy takes a back seat, or it suffers because of that. So, we should have the ability to implement quickly the desired system of HR practices. Now, the other part after strategic fit is flexibility. So, when we talk about fit, then we talk about little rigidity, because when you are talking about fit, then that means exactly as per the dimensions. But when we are talking about a business operates in a dynamic environment, there are changes from time to time. So, there have to be certain amount of flexibility in the HR strategy, so that the business strategies we are able to further the purpose of the business strategy. So, flexibility considerations, what does it mean? The main components of the flexibility strategy could be to develop HR systems that can be adapted flexibly. So, as I said, fit and flexibility, they sound a little contradictory, but both are very important. So, when you get a cloth stitched according to your dimensions, then it is important that it fits also, but it should be comfortable also, that flexibility should be there. Then develop a human capital pool with a broad range of skills, so that people can be moved across departments. So, there should be a large pool, you should not have people with a few focused skills, then it creates a problem, of rigidity. Select people who have the ability to train and adapt. This is very important. People who are very adaptive to change, who can just simply quickly acquire new skills, and then they can work on new things, and they can contribute a lot towards the achievement of business strategy. That those type of people we should have. And use performance management and reward systems that encourage flexible behavior. Our reward system and our performance management system should be such that they encourage people who are flexible, who are very adaptive to changes in an organization. Then aligning HR strategy with business strategy, very important. Both of them have to work together in a common direction. So, formulate business strategy. First we have to formulate business strategy, obviously, then only HR strategy can be formulated. Identify workforce requirement, because we say that we require people of certain skills, competencies. So, we have to determine what kind of commitment level we want, what kind of adaptability we want. Then formulate HR policies and activities. So, we have to now devise those HR strategies, and then develop related detailed HR scorecard measures. That means it is very, very important that how will the performance of employees be evaluated, on what criteria. As I said in the earlier we discussed that people who are adaptive, who are flexible, they need to be rewarded. So that we have to take into consideration. So now if we have to tailor HR strategy according to business strategy, that we have understood. So that means HR strategies of different organizations will differ according to their business strategy, and that is why it is not possible to copy and paste simply. So there is a little case about Gap versus Nordstrom which I am talking about. Both of them are American apparel retailers. Both companies sell clothing but with different strategies. Now because their business strategies are different, their HR strategy is also different. Nordstrom tends to focus on upscale consumers and seeks to establish long term relationships through superior customer service. Gap focuses on the broader consumer market and sells stylish clothes but with more of a self-service approach than Nordstrom. Both firms recruit, hire, train, evaluate and reward sales associates, but in very different ways. Gap tends to hire younger, more mobile employees who may stay with the company for a year or less before making onto a different retailer. They tend to be paid a market rate with little in a way of pay for performance. Nordstrom seeks more experienced sales associates, one who build a career in retail sales. In order to attract and retain them, they provide a highly commission based pay system that both motivates customer service and retains high performing associates who would find it difficult to make as much money as competitors. Gap tends to hire younger, more mobile employees who may stay with the company for a year or less before moving on to a different retailer. They tend to be paid a market rate with little in the way of pay for performance. Nordstrom seeks more experienced sales associates, ones who want to make a career in retail sales. In order to attract and retain them, they provide a highly commission based pay system that both motivates customer service and retains high performing employees. So that is how, because they have different strategies, they have different target customers, and hence their HR strategies are also different from each other. So I hope you must have understood what is the relevance of HR strategy and how it can be aligned to business strategy. Thank you so much.